I'm William McKinney. I'm a realtor with Argo Group Properties, and today we are here with Stephanie Parker from First American Title. Stephanie, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about what a title company's role is in closing a real estate transaction, and both from the buyer's perspective, and we also have a separate video on the seller's perspective, so that you can get an idea of what exactly goes on behind the scenes. It's a part of the transaction that most people really don't see. And so Stephanie, tell us a little bit from the buyer's perspective. The question always comes up, what's the earnest money deposit all about? And what happens to it when the buyer brings it to the title company?
Well, earnest money is the most important thing. We need to get that in with the contract. Usually there's a time frame of about 3 days to get that in, and that binds you and secures your contract. You're not only showing the seller your good faith and that you want to purchase the property. Sometimes, depending on the price, will vary the amount of your deposit, but that is what helps make the contract effective and bind you. And as far as it being refundable, sometimes there's clauses written in. You would probably know more on your real estate end. As far as title, your money is secure with us. If you cancel on the contract, we have to have a release that is signed by all parties that tells us who the funds are to be released to.
Wonderful. And so it usually takes 30 to 45 days to close a transaction. And during that time period, what all goes on behind the scenes? Kind of give us an idea of what happens during that time.
Well, the first thing we do is we get the contract in with your deposit. The contract is what allows us to open our file. We can then submit for the title to be searched. Usually have that back within a few days. Once we have that, we can gauge what we need to do. If the title's free and clear, maybe the seller has a payoff. If there's any liens, foreclosures, things of that nature, we'll see what needs to be taken care of. If the seller's had work done on the property, we'll take care of reaching out to the contractors to make sure everything's paid in full and clear for that buyer. Meanwhile, the buyer's lender is going to reach out to us. They're going to ask us to send them certain items that you probably wouldn't even know all of them: title commitment, closing protection letter, wiring instructions. They want to know that we're a vetted title company, vetted with them, and get them certain items so they're aware as well what needs to take place in the transaction. Also, behind the scenes, once we know things are looking good in your transaction with the appraisal, we'll order surveys. We'll reach out to the homeowners association, get that requested as well, so we have it all back timely enough to be able to close.
Tell us a little bit about title insurance. Why is it so important for a buyer, regardless of whether the property is purchased with cash or financed?
It is so important. I have several situations where there's issues on deeds. You have somebody that deeds without proper marital status. Maybe somebody passed away. You're missing something in the chain of title to show that. You want to be sure something you're buying doesn't have any liens on it. It can be contractors. There could be foreclosures in the works that haven't been paid. And again, the break in title. That's the most common thing we see is people doing quitclaim deeds without that title insurance. Well, guess what? You really don't own the property free and clear. You can't just go sell it to somebody else unless you locate these people. Sometimes we can't, and those sellers have to go and hire an attorney to do a quiet title suit, which involves a lot more money with attorneys to go and fix problems that weren't done properly. So when you have your title insurance on the property, you know it's being done right. You're backed by a company and underwriter that will insure that for you. So should something come up if you go to sell or refinance the property, you have that policy to file a claim on, just like you would your homeowner's insurance policy, and they'll work to get that corrected for you. It may delay you a little bit, but at least you know you're not going to be out of pocket for that expense.
Right. Title companies are very highly regulated, of course, so it's easy for people to think that they're pretty much all the same, but explain to us why that's not true, why they're not the same.
Well, main thing is service. That's always first and foremost with any company, is the service that you get. And I think we make a lot of efforts, whether we do different trainings, trying to meet those needs and think in the buyer and seller's perspective and what it feels like in their shoes. Another thing with First American and having a bigger company is you've got different offices you can close in. So that's very helpful location-wise. If you're closing in different counties, we can even go different states. We've got different states across the nation in which that can be helpful. You know, you've got a bigger company that's going to be a little bit more reputable. We've got a lot more experience. Our resources at First American especially are just phenomenal. The attorneys we have on board to be able to reach out to try and resolve issues, to be able to find a way to make your closing happen. You know, we've got all kinds of departments that are within to be able to help. So anytime, you know, we have deadlines approaching, and if one particular person can't necessarily meet that, we have other people that can step in. We have other departments that will help order those surveys and term rates and association things to take that load off, so your closer and processors can be more focused on you and your process, and helping you feel comfortable in the transaction.
Wonderful. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to our viewers today and explain the title process and kind of what goes on behind the scenes. We appreciate it.
Thank you.